Hello, today I thought I will do a video on my SPY and ES levels, and I want to just quickly go over how I draw my zones and how I find my levels. So I'm going to start on SPY first. I've already pre-drawn the levels, but I will go through the levels again. So what I'm looking for on SPY is I start with the weekly, and you can see I've got my levels drawn in on the weekly. So we've got the all-time high to the low pivot. So I draw it in the direction of the trend as well down, and that will give you the retracement back up of 50% and the 618 or 61.8%, which we're getting quite close to. I also use the second pivot down as well and the low pivot, and that gives me a second retracement area here, which is 418.50 and 405.10. So the main area I'm watching at the moment will be 430 because it's a natural resistance area because of the pivot here, and also because of 618 is literally smack bang on that area as well. So that's a weekly, so that's the weekly level. The daily will be very similar. So the same Fibonacci's. You can see 430 is a major daily area. Reason for that is, see the zone I've drawn in here. I'm only based the zone on this pivot. Basically that pivot high to the body, which I'll refine that further in the hourly in a second, but I normally use the pivot high down to the bottom of the body. I don't worry about the bottom tail. And the same at the bottom, I draw from that tail there to my zone there, to the bottom of that candle there, or the top of that candle. That's how I draw my zones. But as you can see on the daily, 430 was resistance, then it broke through, bounced back, so not quite 430, a bit below. Then it definitely became support here, touching it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Touched it here 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times, and then area convolution, which means the bottom body of one candle touches the top body of another candle. This is how I look for my levels. I'm looking for pivots and convolution, so where it goes, slices straight through. And a lot of the time I eyeball it. I basically take a look at the chart. I don't even mark it up. I can just see that area would be a major area. Got the top of that pivot there, and today most likely we're coming into the zone, we'll be coming into that Fibonacci area. So once I've got my zones drawn in on the weekly and the daily, I then go into the hourly. This is where my main levels come from. So I've got an idea of the areas I'm watching. So I'm going to go back to how I drew that zone. I need to make goes back a long way. Here we go. Right, so I always take the top candle, top of the pivot or the top and tail, and then in the daily I'll bring it down to the body, the bottom of the body. So I don't worry about the bottom tail. So this is now refined my zone. I'm basically looking from 429 to 431.75. My first entry, I will have an order waiting at 430 because that's a Fibonacci, so I'll have my start position as I come into the box. Possibly I'll take another, or possibly I might make the Fibonacci my start position, and then I'll add another start position right on the edge of that box. So for example, my start position is typically a quarter of my full position, so I'll take a quarter as I come in, and then I'll take a quarter as it touches the top of the box, and my stop out will be just above the box. Maybe on SPY it'd be about 20-30 cents, so I'm only risking not even a full R. It'll be about a third of an R, because a quarter of an R will be a full stop, a quarter of an R will be a partial stop, not a full stop, so it won't even be a third of an R. But if I'm right, so my stop would be there. If I'm wrong, I lose a third of an R. If I'm right and it bounces, then I'll add again, I'll go full size in this box. So as it exits the box, I'll add another half or maybe another quarter, so I'll have 3/4 of a position, and then I'll wait for it to pull back and retest that area for another quarter. That'll be my add. So I'll be in for a full size, hopefully for the play down. And that's basically how I get into my trades. Start position, another start position, either full size if it looks like it's going to reject or hard, or I'll do another quarter position and then I'll add again on a retest. So now my hourly, so I've got my hourly marked up, I've got my zone, I've got the Fibonacci, I've got a few areas of resistance I've added in as well. These are based on what I said earlier, areas of convolution, so I'm looking for where resistance becomes support and support becomes resistance, that area between. As you can see, we've got resistance, resistance, now it's support, broken through, resistance, resistance, bit of a messy area there, so it's kind of making decisions, broke through, support, support, and now hopefully it will bounce back off that area. It's proven to be an area in the past, and I expect it to be an area in the future. And the same for here, I've got these pivots here, pivot high, pivot low, high, high, and if I go back that probably coincides with some more levels around here, probably around here. Yeah, look at that. And I don't need to go back that far. All I need to do is look for the previous two pivots, those areas. Usually it always coincides with another area in the past where it's bounced or provided support or resistance. So this is my SPY, so my levels will be 430, that area for a bounce. If it breaks through 430, I'll look for a breakthrough and retest. Again, I'll probably use the Fibonacci as my retest area. So I'm either going to go long with continuation or short with a rejection. And then if we see some weakness, I'm looking for a bounce around 422, 423 area. Again, that's because of this pivot here. So zoom in, top of the tail, and then bottom of the body. That's my zone. And going back, you can see it's bounced off of it there and then broke through, gapped up. And I'm sure if I go back far enough, that area will be another. Go back a long, long way around here. So here we go, we've got this pivot here and this little area here. So that there is resistance, breakthrough, support. So there's zones, and just remember that it's not a line, it's an area. And if I zoom in, you can see quite clearly here the bottoms of these candles and the tops of these candles. So my levels today will be 430 rejection, or 430 continuation long, or 422 as a bounce, or if it breaks through 422, I'll be watching 420, and that's based on these two pivots. And I've drawn up the fibs actually for the low to today's high, yesterday or Friday's high, and we've got this area here as well, so you could see a bounce around 421. So this area is probably going to bounce around this area. So that's my SPY. Now let's look at my ES levels. Again, I've gone out to the daily, very similar to SPY. So I've got a Fibonacci's coming straight into that Fibonacci area there, 618, and straight into that zone. So these are the areas I'll be watching. Again, be watching down here for a bounce and up here for a rejection. So go into the hourly. So we've got the bounce area will be the 4199, so basic 4200 is a big psychological area as well, and 4300 is another psychological area. So I'll be probably looking to get in, but I would wait for confirmation. So similar to the SPY, well, I get in from my start position and then wait for it to come back out and then retest the area. I want to be watching for volume and a top and tail rejection candle, or a series of rejection candles with volume which is declining, which shows that there's no more energy left in the market and it might want to reverse. There's not much volume today. So these are my levels. So on ES my levels will be 4300 to 4310. Quite a big zone that is. I might have to narrow that down a little bit. And my bounce area will be back down there, 4200. So let's see if I can revise this zone, because I don't like how wide it is. Because I like to use the top of the zone as my stop. Big candle. So on this instance then, I will probably use it's a difficult one. This is going to be 2 trades, so it's going to be a bounce at 4300, stop out if it breaks 4300 or maybe 4310 at that Fibonacci level. If it breaks through that, then I'll look to get in again closer to the 4330, 4327. So it might be a stop out and a win a bit later. But look at this, it literally bounced off the zone, and this zone was drawn months ago, weeks ago. Broke through, come back, rejected. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Anyway, I'll put these levels in the Discord channel as well. So I like to put them in the Discord channel. That gives me my area, a little bit of accountability, hence the video, and also my levels, which I'm just putting in now. Gives me something to look back on, so when I back test I can look at what I thought would be the areas that day, and I can compare it then on the chart. Right, thank you for watching.